Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, and welcome to another edition of the Grand Boulevard Coalition. I am your host, Bomani Obadelli. The Grand Boulevard Coalition is a coalition of community people in the Grand Boulevard community that's focusing on prevention of underage drinking and drugging in that community. And so I'll start by just announcing a few of our coalition partners so you know who they are. We have the Institute for Positive Living. Reverend Maurice Coverston is the executive director. Krista Hamilton of Centers for New Horizon. We have Recovery 2000. The executive director is Miss Izetta Walton. Our community liaison from Chicago Public Schools is Mr. Lafayette Ford. We also have Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church, Pastor Eric Thomas, and I think one of the best aldermen in the city of Chicago as our public service sector, Alderman Pat Dow, and we also have the Bronzeville Community Clubhouse. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a live show, 312-738-1060, 312-738-1060. I come on today very perplexed. How could you not be? How could you not be perplexed, angry, upset if you live in Chicago and you're African American and you live in the communities or communities where you've got the statistics? 471 people shot, 91 dead, 38 teenagers. Now, that is the highest rate of shootings and murders in the last 20 years, as they say. But going back 20 years as a person that's been an organizer who grew up in Robert Taylor Homes, who grew up on the South Side, what I do know is women and children were taboo. You didn't shoot women. You didn't shoot grandmothers. You didn't shoot children. 38 teenagers have been murdered in the city of Chicago this month. 91 people murdered. 90% of them have happened in the African American community. Now, I'm not getting on the soapbox and calling for a National Guard or any of that. Much of my vitriol is directed at the African American community. Now, we can get into the police. By the way, only 3 police out of those 471 I just mentioned. I'm gonna move in close so you can really see and hear me. Out of the 471 people shot, the police shot 3 of them. Now, that may be too many. 471 people shot, 91 dead. The police shot 3 of them. 2 of them were engaged in some level of criminal activity. I'm not justifying the police shooting. But I'm getting loud because I live in the African American community. I'm a father. I'm a community person. And enough is enough. We are going to have some real serious dialogue about how we end violence in our community. Now, I think drugs play a role. And again, this is a live show, so if you got something to say, you can certainly comment. 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060, because I don't purport to have all the answers. But I do know that it's got to start by having conversation. It's got to start by us talking to each other. And we got to get past marching and laying in the streets, right? So I am aware of the mental health crisis we have. The first thing to get cut in our community is mental health services. But the fact remains, most of us don't realize we got mental problems. And we have children that are born severely with mental problems. And then we have a black adult problem. We have parents who don't want to be parents. They want to be friends with their children. These young boys are bringing, these young girls and boys are bringing these drugs and the guns into your home. And you know it, and you do nothing. It's just like the lynchings that were taking place in the 40s and 50s. While black men stood around, while young boys and other innocent young men were lynched and beat, and we said nothing. And we're doing the same thing today. As responsible or so-called responsible adults, we want to march, we want to lay in the street, but we don't want to roll up our sleeves. We don't want to get busy. And yeah, economic deprivation, education disparities, mental health disparities, I understand all of that. But at the end of the day, there has to be a voice in the wilderness. How many more babies have to be shot? How many more innocent women have to be murdered in the street? And men, for that matter. But we got a couple of callers, so I see you on the air. Let's get right into it. What say you, callers?
The point, and we keep missing the reason why we keep having these problems. I have brought this up on other shows. We have, if you look at, depending on what study you look at, we have a $3 billion drug industry right here in the Midwest. We are the distribution point for drugs to be distributed all over the country because we got Midway and O'Hare, drugs coming in through there. We got truck drivers, interstate highway bringing drugs. We got even through the waterways. When you have that sort of business, you're going to have other problems that come along with it as well.
Well, caller, can I ask you this question? Let me engage you for a moment. I'm glad you're talking about that. I'm familiar with the heroin highway off 290. I know we got a heroin epidemic, but I mean, engage me. You sound like you're a black man, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then tell me this: when statistics, because you were talking about statistics, show that there are more white folks using drugs than blacks, tell me why.
From our neighborhood to buy them.
What? But tell me why disproportionately we are negatively affected by it, whether it being incarcerated, whether it being murdered by it. Tell me why we're disproportionately being affected by something that we don't necessarily use, but we sell.
You want to hear the truth?
But come on, tell me the truth.
I want to tell you the truth. There was also another study, I can't recall the name of it right now, that showed that blacks are 200, right now, it'll take us 230 years to catch up where white folks are right now.
Yeah, you're talking about the economic study. The economic study, okay.
Ahead of us.
Yeah, the economic study.
And 30 years ahead of us.
I hear you, and thank you for your call, caller. I appreciate your contribution to the show. Well, we got another call, and then I'll give a rebuttal. Caller, you on the air, GBC show.
Hello, how are you?
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and I'm also a writer, and I write on social issues. My main concern is that you're right. We have a concern, and it's just not drugs or anything. It's a mental problem, mental issue problem, as well as the fact that mothers and fathers are no longer raising their children. The children are pretty much raising them. And the problem of it is that we have a very bad gun control problem, not here in Illinois, but when they can go over to Indiana and get guns very readily, and guns brought back here into our society. I also know that we have organizations that will walk very readily when a policeman kills a black young man, and not when we kill each other.
Well, that's true.
We need to be more vigilant when that happens, not just when police do it, but when we do it as well.
I agree with you.
We don't want to face the problem. It's our children that are doing this. Our children are killing each other, but we don't want to face the facts of that.
Well, caller, I appreciate your call, and you are correct. You are correct in that point, which is why I don't, listen, I got to tell you, as someone I'm 44 years old, I've been active, engaged in the community for some 24 years, right? I've marched against police brutality. I've been an opponent for economic justice in our community. I've fought to save public housing. I got to tell you, it pains me to see the state that we're in today in the city of Chicago. Now, maybe we didn't fight hard enough. Maybe we didn't push back hard enough on the Richard Daley administration, right? As for some of the things that, and I'm telling you right now, I can go on and probably for an hour, but we don't have time to talk about the economic deprivation in this city, right? I know that we have some good police out there, and I preference call it for you by stating 471 people shot in this city. The police only shot 3 of them. They didn't murder any of them. And 2 other young men were in acts of criminal activity. Now, that doesn't remove the fact that the police shot him and they shot him in the back or whatever. Here's my point. At the end of the end, we have the FOP now talking about having a police slowdown or don't work this weekend when you've just come out of the most violent month in the city of Chicago. I mean, this is just national news. Black Chicago, you're a national embarrassment. I mean, we've sat back and allowed 38 children to be murdered in the city of Chicago. And there's been no outcry up until today. Well, the news media has talked about it. I know there's been marches and people laying in the street, but at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, let me just say this to you. Marching is great. You know, and laying in the street is all good. Yeah? You can do that again. You can march until you run the souls out. At the end of the day, it's going to take those civic-minded folks, our elected officials, the black church, black community organizations to come together and come up with a concrete plan and solution. And I'm telling you today that there are some people who don't deserve to be in our community anymore. That we got to rid ourselves of these irresponsible people. And damn it, black parents, we're going to have to be parents. And be responsible. And if that means you got to turn in your wayward son or your wayward nephew, well, by God, you got to do it. Because it makes no sense. And so we can get up in arms about the police killing folks and police murders and Black Lives Matter. But when do they matter? When does Black Lives matter? Yeah, I'm emotional and I'm mad. You're correct. Because I am sick and tired of it. And this is really going off a little bit of our position at the Grand Boulevard community, because we really focus on underage drinking and drugging, right? But as a African-American male, I purposely didn't want to guest today. Because I can't sit back and be quiet, and I can't go to any more meetings because I go to these meetings and they're not solution-based. It's pointing the finger based. We need to come up with a list of demands, whether we're going to demand something from government, right? Because they play a role. And we got some callers, and I'm going to get to you. Because government plays a role.
Yes.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Go ahead, caller.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
How are you?
You're one of the very few people on TV that'll blame your own community. Everybody else, like you said, makes mistakes. How about the two criminals that shot to death Wade's cousin?
Well, listen, and you know, and let me just say this to you. I feel bad for that sister that she lost her life, but them two guys stated that they were shooting at a guy driving down 63rd Street for guess what? Because they didn't like the way he looked at them. So you've taken out a mother and left 4 children as orphans because we don't know who their father is because he ain't showed up. So that she was a mother going to register her child for school, which school starts on Tuesday. And we'll talk a little bit more about that before we get off the air.
But you know what gets me? They let him out early. They arrest him again. They put ankle bracelets on him. They let him out again. And what happens? The young lady gets killed. 4 kids are on their own, except for their family, without a mother. And that happens every day. And you wouldn't have heard about that.
Yeah, and you know what? And I know this is hard, and this is when I talk about solution-based, right? So to your point, caller, and thank you for your call. Thank you for your call. I got to tell you, brothers and sisters, as a community person, I'm not just sitting back here talking as a person who lives somewhere else. I live in the black community. I work in the black community. I volunteer in the black community. I'm in the hood, if you will. And let me just say this to you. It's time for us to begin to hold people accountable. And that's all of us. That's all of us. From the social service agencies to the elected officials to the police department to the city of Chicago to the black parents. We all have to be responsible. And I agree with the caller who called in. It makes no sense that repeat offenders, repeat gun offenders and violators continue to shoot at folks, play with guns in the streets, and then be released back into the community. But I think it's high time that we have a discussion, if it makes sense, about stiffer penalties for folks who are repeat offenders who are violating these gun laws. And I know y'all don't want to hear the word mandatory minimums because you talk about what Clinton did. That was drugs. We're talking about nonviolent crimes with people selling drugs and cocaine and conspiracy charges. That was the crime bill. We're talking about actually individuals who are, these two guys admitted that they were shooting at the guy because they didn't like the way he looked and shot this woman and murdered her with her child. So, and they've been got a rap sheet as long as my arm. Perhaps as long as 63rd Street. But it didn't start there with these two guys. It started when they were 12 years old. Which goes back to the household. It goes back to being parenting, being good parents. Now, again, I don't talk with blinders on. I realize that we have some harsh economic problems in our community. I realize the racism. I realize environment. And you know what? They could have probably been drinking lead, water based with lead all their lives. Because we do, that is a fact. Which goes to the mental health issue, which we should be fighting for. See, I'm talking about a holistic approach. I'm not just talking about being punitive. I'm saying this got to be holistic. We got to have government. We got to have citizens. We have to have educators. And we got to have the police. And it's going to take all of us to solve this problem. So if it seems like I'm being emotional and mad, well, damn it, I am. I am upset. I'm upset that I live in Chicago as a black man, as a father. That 91 people can be shot and 32 young people can be murdered. And it's almost like we become immune to it. Caller, you on the air. What say you?
They don't want to teach history in school. The solution to our problem, look what Muhammad Gandhi did. Look what Dr. Martin Luther King. Start protesting downtown in the Loop for a month. Hit them in the pocketbook. And guess what? It'd be some solution to the problem. Tie up traffic and cause the city to pay some money out. And I bet you, we'll get solution to our problem, but we don't want to talk about doing those sort of things. It's right in the history book in terms of what we should do.
All right, so caller, let me engage you for a moment.
Good education.
Let me engage you for a moment. If we protest downtown, how does that stop Pookie, Ray Ray, and She Ray from playing with guns and moving dope?
Why? Because we be getting all up in Best Business, Best Buy, and Walgreens and say, hey, we got to do something about this in the financial market down there because this hurting us. We got to do something about it. And then when you look at the problem they had in the South in terms of public accommodation, when they started hitting them in the pocketbook, look what Montgomery, the bus company down there, all right? When the people stopped riding the bus and they wasn't making no money. Money would change the people's behavior. When they wanted to teach people to start wearing their seatbelt, what they did is start hitting them in the pocketbook. We need to hit this city, this state in the pocketbook.
I hear you.
That's going to bring on change.
I hear you, caller. I hear you, and I agree with you, but I also disagree with you to this end, right? I'm not looking to blame anybody else. I need to. I want us to deal with us. I want us to deal with our problems that we have. I want us to deal with the anger, the self-hatred, the mental illness. Go ahead.
Look, there's people making money off our misery.
But that's true.
Start hurting them. Cut the money off. Guess what? They will hear you. All right? Just like if enough mosquitoes sting your butt, you're going to get that attention. Say, hey, you know what? I got to get out of this situation because I'm getting tired of getting, stinged by these mosquitoes. We need to start, like I said, that's the reason why I don't want to teach children history. The problem to what we have is right in the history book. We need to really start protesting. Hit the people in the pocketbook, and that will bring on a change.
All right. Well, I got you. Thank you for your call. Appreciate you. Speaking of education, on Monday, Labor Day, September the 5th, the day before school starts back, the Grand Boulevard Coalition, along with Grand Boulevard Prevention Services, is sponsoring free back-to-school haircuts and a backpack giveaway at 2 participating locations within the Grand Boulevard community. Another barbershop at 843 East 47th Street, and at the barbershop at 343 47th Street. So that is one shop on the corner of 47th and Drexel, and another one on the corner of 47th and Calumet will be giving out free haircuts and backpacks on Monday. This event is supported by our great state senator Matty Hunter and our alderman of the 3rd Ward, Alderman Pat Dow. We also have Blessed Hands, which is located on 47th Street, not on the flyer. In addition, we'll be doing young girls' hair. They will be doing hair for young girls and giving out school supplies on the corner of 47th and Drexel. So there's 2 shops there. It is 840 and 843 East 47th Street. 841, and 843 East 47th Street, another barbershop. Mr. Bawat Davis is the proprietor there. He's been doing this with us for well over 15 years. And at the shop is our brother Sean Jackson, 343 East 47th Street, giving back on Monday, Labor Day, free back-to-school haircuts. You can pass the word. 6 to 15 years old, from 9 to 1 p.m. If you need more information, you can give me a call at 312-420-5582. Again, 312-420-5582. Again, this is sponsored by the Grand Boulevard Coalition and GBPS and supported by our great state senator, Matty Hunter, and our 3rd Ward Alderman Pat Dow. I believe we got another caller. Caller, you on the air.
Yes, I really enjoyed the program. This is Minister Williams. I come behind you on the show. But this whole issue of mental illness, I'm a former teacher educator of Chicago Public Schools, and just an anointed psychologist, spiritual psychologist. And what I noticed when I was in the elementary school, we were talking about the children and how mentally and emotionally dysfunctional they were. We're talking about 3rd graders, 4th graders, and 2nd graders, and all of them on that level. And that gave me an understanding that our family structure in our community is very dysfunctional and toxic. So what we lack is a spirituality and a balance of love and discipline. We had a fantastic principal on 103rd and Cottage Grove, Carlson Quarters, where I lived at that time, and the kids knew me, and I knew them, London Town and all of them. So my point is this: we as a people need to look at our family structures and understand that we need to get healthy. It's not about the church. The church has one level, but we've lost a sense of our value and self-worth. So just like you, my program is to uplift and encourage. So I think you're doing a great job. And when we talk about what we should do, we need people that are doers and just do. I'm getting tired of people talking about what we should do.
Yeah.
Each person can do their part.
Yep.
I know I have.
And thank you so much, caller. Thank you so much. We're up against the clock. I don't know. Listen, callers, I apologize that I won't be able to take any more calls. I got less than a minute left to go. But let me just say this to you, and this is for the FOP. I'm encouraging every one of you who live on the South, West, Garfield Park, South Shore, Grand Boulevard, Inglewood, come out of your houses this weekend. We need to be active. I'm calling on the men. When men stand up, boys will sit down. The men need to come out of your house, stand up on your corner, and be men. Parents, you need to be parents this weekend. We shouldn't have to rely on the police. And I don't want no National Guard in my community. We can patrol our own communities. We need to be responsible. That's the problem. And I believe in church, home, school, government. That's the way we need to function. Between now and next week, you've been watching Grand Boulevard. Use your common sense if you have any. God bless.